By phone, I reached Dean Sunder at the History Alive exhibition just as he was pitching the need for a new Stewie generator to his guest, the actor Ewan Coffey, the university's most famous former attendee. Everyone knew the story. As a junior, Ewan had packed a duffel bag and taken the train west to Portland, then a bus down the coast to Hollywood. The rest was movie history. The dean was not pleased to be interrupted. After hearing what I had to say, however, he excused himself and stepped into the curator's office so that we could speak privately. The dean's voice carried strong over the line.
"Julia, this is the last thing we need. Is Dr. Mooney's student sure about this? Let's get all the facts before we sound the alarm."
He instructed me to keep him updated, and went back to wooing Ewan Coffey with the bagels, cream cheese, lox, and champagne I'd ordered for the occasion. I hung up the phone. Kowal had taken off the woolen hat and was twisting it in his hands, compacting the logo to read, "Pie is dessert." His breathing had calmed, but he still had a glassy-eyed look. I got up and went over to the cabinet nestled under the winter-frosted window of my office to fetch the cookie jar I kept there. My approach to any crisis, large or small, was this. A. Offer food, and B. Make a list of things that needed to be done. I handed Kowal a napkin with a couple of butter cookies, then sat back down across from him, leaving the cookie jar open on the desk. Kowal wrapped his gloveless and icy-looking fingers around one of the cookies and wordlessly took a bite. "I suppose you'll have to find another graduate advisor," I said. "I hear Dr. Little is taking on new students." I stopped to allow his coughing to subside.
"Julia,"
he said reproachfully, sounding more like his normal self,
"how can you be so efficient at a time like this?"
He hiccuped, then finished off the cookie as I pulled out my yellow legal pad to start a list. "Tell me what happened. You went on a Stewie run with Dr. Mooney. What went wrong?" Something occurred to me. "And who else was with you?" He quickly polished off a second cookie.
"No one."
"It was just Dr. Mooney and you?"
"No, Julia. Dr. Mooney was alone, according to the log. Just him."
I looked up from the notepad, not about to write that down. No one went alone. Stewie teams consisted of a professor and a couple of grad students, with perhaps a postdoc or a visiting researcher tagging along for good measure. 3 to 4 was the standard.
"It's my fault, though I don't know why Dr. Mooney went on a run."
I pushed the open cookie jar toward him. "You'd better start at the beginning." He reached into the jar.
"It was my shift in the lab last night. I tried to switch with Abigail so I could get some last-minute studying done for space-time warping, theory and practice. The exam is at noon today. There's going to be a written section and a practical one. It's Dr. Little's class and his tests are always hard. I still had a couple of hours left to study. That's not important, is it? The point is, I tried to switch with Abigail, but she has 2 finals today. Jacob was swamped with projects, and I couldn't reach Sergei, so Dr. Mooney offered to take over for me. He does that for his students sometimes. I had no idea, Julia, that he would—"
Kowal stopped as if he wasn't sure he should voice his thoughts and bit into another cookie. My pencil hovered above the blank page. "Kowal, are you saying that Dr. Mooney went on an unscheduled run last night and something went wrong?" Kowal leaned forward, planted his elbows on the desk, and waved the cookie in my direction.
"Dr. Mooney logged in around midnight. He never logged out. The basket came back empty. You know what that means."
It was only when I looked at my hand that I realized I'd reached for a cookie myself. Kowal added,
"I sat there for a while, trying to figure out what to do. Your phone was busy, then Abigail came in, so I left her to guard the lab and ran over here." He sat back up in the chair. "Julia, we have to take Stewie offline until we figure out what went wrong."
I wiped the cookie crumbs off my hands. "I'll call campus security and send out a memo that Dean Sunder is canceling all runs until further notice." I wrote that down under A and B, then flicked my computer to life and opened Stewie's roster. A blogger is scheduled to observe this morning's run,